Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we are reviewing GhostBusters Afterlife. If you can, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of the next coming videos. So to summarize GhostBusters Afterlife for people that haven't seen it yet, the concept is basically the grandfather of the original team member has children and grandchildren, and unfortunately the actor passed away in real life, and that's how the first cool scene starts, with him kind of driving away from we assume is a ghost or some sort of demon, and that was probably a really good introduction to the movie. And then he's trying to start off trying to take away the trap, and then he passes away. So the movie starts from there. We get to see his daughter, and then the family's broke, so they move to the inner state, and then we find out that the house is kind of a dump.
Yeah, he has this, people in the town call the dirt farmer, because for some reason he has a farm, but he doesn't seem to plant or harvest anything, and they just call him the dirt farmer because he seems to just be harvesting dirt. They move to the town. The kids think it's temporarily, but the mother, because she's broke and has been evicted, becomes their ongoing home. The kids have to then kind of adapt to normal life, with the boy going to get a job, and the younger girl going to summer school, which is usually for kids that struggle academically, but she's going there by choice to try and make friends and I guess to be around academia. Where this is where we meet Paul Rudd's character, who is the teacher of summer school, and he also is somewhat of an archaeologist or studies tremors, as in interested in the fact that this town doesn't have your normal volcanic waves and it doesn't have your normal earthquake waves. It does kind of a mix of waves, and it doesn't make sense from his perspective, so he's a bit cautious of it. But they do know that this town was known for mining, so there's some kind of link there with that. And then through that, both sets of kids encounter the mine in some way. One, she makes friends with a character called Podcast, who you quite like.
Yeah, I think he's cool.
And he shows her the mine and talks about how it's haunted and it got closed because people used to throw themselves down this mine shaft in sacrifice. And then the older boy, he experiences it through the friends he makes at work, and they go there and kind of hang out and fire guns and hang over the mine shaft, and then they see a demon-like character who kind of shoots out of it and goes into the sky. So they both had strange interactions with this mine. In between that and at the same time, there's a few other things that go on. Maybe you want to talk about the daughter and the interaction she has with some kind of spirit in the house and discovering of some of the technology and tools that are in this house.
Yeah, it kind of starts off, the chess set has kind of been knocked over, and it's kind of, who would have done that? And then she picks it all up, and then someone moves the white piece, so she has to move the black piece. So never really get to find out who it was, but part of me thought it was either the grandfather or maybe the creature that killed the grandfather, but that doesn't really make sense. I would assume it was the grandfather. Don't really get any clarification of who it was.
I'm fairly certain it was the grandfather. So without giving too much away through that, this is a movie about, the potential end of the world and the afterlife and people coming from the afterlife. So as you can see from the trailers, the kids kind of discover that their grandfather's a Ghostbuster, and they go on to fight the demonic creatures. You see some that look like dogs, and some that look like marshmallows, and some that are like these blown up kind of like ghoulish, like, I don't know, like a Casper looking character. And then, it's a mix of different ghosts, which is something I always thought weird about Ghostbusters. The ghosts never look the same. They're like different types of ghosts. And as you'd expect, they saved the world. Without going into detail how that happens, because that's some of the best parts of the movie, is how they discover their grandfather and how they interact with him and, the secrets that come with that. But overall, what do you have to say about the movie?
Verdict.
Oh, yeah, verdict, or who might like it, or what you think was good or could have been better.
I feel like who would like the movie is definitely younger audience. It definitely feels like a kid-family movie, and it definitely feels like they're trying to get the more younger audience to get more into the franchise and to appreciate the original Ghostbusters movie. Does it work? I could see someone younger would go, this movie's cool, I want to be like podcast. And I think the two main characters, podcast and the science girl, are definitely pretty cool characters, definitely inspirational. Does it have too much Easter eggs? Maybe so. And I think it does a good enough job to justify its existence and not just a cash grab. Overall, I think it's around a 3.5. I think it does enough to justify, being a worthy successor. Unfortunately, I think it does, when I was watching, I did feel a little bit bored, and then they were building up the atmosphere and everything quite well, and then the ending or the final fight did feel a little bit rushed, and kind of they could have handled it a little bit better. But overall, I think it's more wild for the more younger audience than the adults. It definitely felt like if you're more of a fan, that's probably the reason why you'll watch it. I think it's more of a kid-friendly movie. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's what they were going for. I think they've realised that Ghostbusters is probably at an age where the generation of young kids that saw Ghostbusters when they were a kid are now parents. So it's a movie that they can bring out where you can go, I remember liking this as a kid. My children are now at the age where they are going to like it, so they try to tailor it maybe to dads to take their kids to, where it's a movie they can both connect, because it's got that kid interest and tailoredness, but it has the Easter eggs and the nostalgia for those previous fans. Overall, it's not a fantastic movie. It has plot holes. It has it skips through things, but that's general of a movie that's tailored towards kids, because, like younger kids, they don't think about how in-depth the character is or why that happened, that doesn't make sense. They just say, that was entertaining, that made me laugh, that was fun, that was exciting, and that they just see things as it is. So you can see why they've tailored it where the end scene, the boss fight, is usually over pretty quickly and easy. They try and have, some kind of entertainment the whole way, opposed to, like a more broody, like a DC superhero movie where it might have a lot of backstory and build up, and then they might fight the villain and the villain wins and they go back and they rebuild themselves up and win like that. Kids lose interest in that. So they've avoided that, but they did have enough Easter eggs to get you into it. I was entertained. I didn't find it boring personally. I sat there and was entertained the whole way through. But I did have some plot holes. There was lots of children at it when I went to see it, so it's obviously working. It was a pretty packed cinema. They are getting kids. I'd have to look to see how it's doing at the box office. Also, numbers are going to be impacted by COVID around the world, so it's hard to get a real gauging on it. But it was entertaining enough. Whether or not it can fully reboot the Ghostbusters franchise, I don't know. I think if you didn't involve the original characters at all, it would have really struggled. I think that probably what has kept it alive.
Yeah.
I think that's where the female cast reboot one struggled, even though they were in it. I think people were like, well, this sucks. You're kind of like replacing them where this is a follow-on. So from that, I'm thinking around the same number, I'm going to go 3.5. It was entertaining, but it's not blockbuster. I don't think it's planning to be. And it was just tailored towards, like kids and getting in a new audience. And from the end credit scenes, you can tell that maybe they're sequel baiting. So 3.5 for me. Let's move into some spoiler discussions. What were some things that stood out for you that were good, bad, or different?
I guess starting off positive is that it doesn't damage the franchise in any way. I think the younger generation are likable, and I think the older cast are generally good as well. I think they did that aspect well. It doesn't damage the franchise in any way. I think that's the main positive out of the movie, but in a negative way, I think they didn't take any chances. You can tell it's very much a kid-friendly movie, and I don't know, it's definitely much more of a kid-friendly movie. What I guess is the main downfall of the movie. What's unfortunate, but you want to get the next generation involved, so that's kind of the main problem. You want to please the fans, and that's why they bought the marshmallows in it. But really, that scene could have been cut out from the movie. Yeah, it's very much it's gone for that. They could have gone in a direction of where it was, a bit darker, a bit more serious, like Ghostbusters. Now, with the time where we are with CGI and things, they could have made it like a really high quality, like, I know, I'm thinking if you reimagine Ghostbusters in like modern times, you'd think the ghost would look a bit different and the technology they use would be a bit different, but they didn't do that. They wanted to keep it nostalgic. They didn't invent any new technology. They were using the same weapons that were in the originals. I guess there's some questionable things about that, whether they would still work so many years down the track. I really doubt the use of the remote control. Driving a remote control car is so hard, and he was somehow driving a remote control car at extreme pace whilst in a car moving. I don't buy it. I feel like within 5 seconds he would have crashed into a wall or something. But it's movies. You gotta make it interesting. The biggest downfalls for me were probably the unbelievability of some of the things they were using in gadgets, but it's tailored towards kids, and kids don't think that way, and they go, this was funny, this was cool. Any like Easter eggs that you thought were good or bad? Oh, I guess the marshmallows and seeing the gadgets for the first time, and kind of when the young female girl rings up one of the main cast from the original movie, that was cool. Yeah, and she's like, oh, I'm entitled to my phone call, because she gets arrested, and then the police officer's like, well, who are you going to call? Yeah. And like, she knew she's going to call the Ghostbusters. The gun Easter eggs, you've got the marshmallows, you got, what other cool... I liked it how when he first discovered the car, he kind of lifted it up and you could see the Ghostbusters symbol on it, and he's like, oh, what a heap of junk, and he covered it over. And then they went back. One of the things that kind of annoyed me about the movie was the boy was discovering, like parts of the farm and starting to realise his grandfather had some cool stuff. And then the girl was discovering it, but they never bothered to talk. No. Like they never, it seemed like days went past and they both were doing their same thing. And you think, if you discovered one part of the farm that had like secret rooms, wouldn't you thought you would have been like,
hey mum, hey brother, do you want to come have a look? There's this cool stuff around this farm. But they just kept it to themselves, which is not something I think a family would do.
Yeah.
I guess it's not really explained why the daughter is separate from the father, except for maybe he took off because he was so obsessed with trying to stop the end of the world that sadly his family came second. Yeah, they're little tiny things that, as adults we want to know, but kids couldn't care less about.
Do you have a problem that everything has, like, writers have wrote in that everything has conveniences, like the mother happens, and this is how they connect the original two movies to this movie, is that the mother is the granddaughter or the daughter to one of the main Ghostbusters. So that's how they connect and everything. But that makes her important, but as a character she's quite annoying and not really nice to a child. So that's how they connect. And then the main boy character, he likes this girl, and then coincidentally the girl's father is the police officer, so when they need the stuff they know where to go, and she can drive the police car. And then the podcaster knows all the mysteries and everything, just everything leading up to everything.
Yeah, but I guess that's what makes a movie, that's why our lives aren't movies, because they're not interesting, like if these coincidences and things don't happen, then you don't have a story. It goes, kid, like if you take away the coincidences, you go, kids that, like, mother gets evicted from house after her father dies, they go to the farm's full of ghosts, they get scared of the ghosts, they run away, and then the world ends. Like, it's not a movie anymore, you have to have the coincidences to make a movie of it.
I guess it's just more noticeable in this movie because it's more tailored towards kids.
Oh yeah, they make coincidences and things like that happen really obvious for kids, because you want kids to think that the world's great and the good things always happen, and even when you're down on your luck, someone always saves you or something turns around, because like, they're the kinds of messages you want to pass on to kids. But yeah, through that they created characters that probably aren't that useful. If you were making a team of people to fight ghosts, what besides podcasts, like knowledge of mysteries and interest in it and enthusiasm, he doesn't offer any physical or special abilities. He's not even really smart. Like, he's not even a scientist that could help. So he would not be your first choice. The boy, again, doesn't really have anything beyond the fact that he is old enough to drive, but not even legally because he doesn't have a license. The girl, definitely, she's smart. She knows how she can follow on from what her grandfather was building and understands it. And yeah, the other female character that's the daughter of the police officer, she just happens to be able to help them out if they get in trouble, but she still technically broke the law. So it's an interesting way to connect them, but it's not a great team. Like, maybe it would have been better to have, some more friends that she met at summer school that were like really interested in ghosts or good at science or something that could have added to it. But instead they've kind of picked a mixture of characters that aren't really good at what they do. But I guess that's maybe the Ghostbusters in essence, really.
How did you find how mum was basically abusing, not physically, but emotional? It's like, oh, you're basically a nerd and a disgrace to society, and then the moment it's like she was going to say you're a badass, and then it's science. It's like, they really make fun of science in the movie. I really...
Yeah, I guess the mother has a hatred for science because of her dad.
But why would you take it on your child? Shouldn't you be like, that's your interest?
Well, I think she was more, they were trying to come across that she was worried about her daughter, saying, you're kind of socially awkward, you don't have friends. Like, I fear that you're going to not have friends unless you take up other hobbies. But then I guess she's proved wrong, as her hobbies can make her what she is.
Yeah.
So I get what they're trying to do. It did come across a bit, she wasn't proud of her daughter, but I think maybe she just was more worried for her daughter, but they came across a different way.
And of course, Paul Rudd, I think, brings the charm and the essence in this movie. And I guess you could argue anyone else could have been cast in the movie. Like Will Ferrell would have been cool in the movie, but I think Paul Rudd was a great choice.
I think Paul Rudd's to be honest, I don't know the age difference between him and Will Ferrell, but Paul Rudd definitely looks younger. And I think he seemed the right age to pull it off, and he has the right type of energy. I think they wanted someone that was kind of like awkward and like a bit like silly. Well, Will Ferrell can definitely play that, but I think Paul Rudd was a good choice. Of course, other people could have pulled it off. It could have also been a nobody, but I think Paul Rudd was what they needed to get the people to want to watch it, because he was the superstar.
Yeah.
And you know what? He may not have been their first choice. They could have sent out this script to so many people, and he was the best choice of people that applied, or he could have been their first choice. We don't really know.
Did you buy out of everyone in town that the mother and Paul Rudd were the ones that became like the main creatures, so the final boss could enter in our domain? Just happened to be the two ones in the town.
Yeah, it was coincidental that he happened to go to Walmart and then run into the creatures.
Just because the marshmallows bumping.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And I guess the mother, she happened to live in the house, so she was the most likely to get taken over because of that. But his was definitely, like a coincidence that it was just, all in all, it was a way of not introducing more characters that they needed to be main characters, but not characters that were needed to fight the ghost. And then I guess the whole idea of them being a love interest kind of made it work too.
Did you believe that the kids actually... do you think they were just gonna take whoever it was and let the other person, do you think they thought out that scene? Or it felt very strange, that scene. It was really quick when they the main character, nerdy scientist, basically made a distraction with the final boss, and then they took the mother. Do you think that was all planned? Do you think they knew that was the mother? Because we saw it, but I don't know. To me,
I don't think it was meant to be planned. I think they had a 50-50 chance of when they used the machine to capture the spirit. They just knew that the god, they claim that it's neither male or female, requires two. So they just had to get rid of one of them, and they had a 50-50 chance. And I think it probably made more sense to be the mother, because the mother needed to be there to, I don't know, talk to the ghost of her father and to see her and help her daughter fight the boss, where I guess if it was Paul Rudd's character, those final scenes have been very different. So I think it's a conscious choice by the writer, but we assume that it was coincidence, that they had a 50-50 chance and they happened to have just got the mother.
And of course, we got to talk about how the main original cast members turn up. Was that your favourite moment of the movie?
I don't know if it was my favourite moment of the movie. They don't seem to have that much to offer or impact, but they're there, to give the fans what they want. So it's good enough. I guess more involvement would have been probably a bit nicer.
And did you like how they ended up getting all of the ghosts with all the traps that the main ghost, one of the main original Ghostbusters made, that he couldn't do in the beginning?
Yeah, well, that helps explain how they're going to take him on, because there's not enough time or enough intelligence there for them to work out how to fix the problem. So the fact that he had preemptively solved the problem really helped make it happen. Otherwise, they would have been screwed. So it's cool. It's believable. It makes sense. It carries on his legacy. I think that's a fine way of capturing them. And
also, there's a scene when the brother is driving, and then the writers for some reason feel like it's necessary to let us know that he's failed the driving test 3 times, and then he's still able to drive. Did you find that scene believable? I personally didn't when they let us know that information.
No, I do, because failing a driving test and being able to drive are 2 different things. We saw him crash into things. We saw him drive recklessly. But in order to pass a test, you need to be able to park, you need to know when to stop, you need to know how to stay under the speed limit. All of his driving was actually illegal, so we can assume that he can operate a vehicle, but he just isn't very good with the road rules. So I believe that he could drive but not have a license. I think that's fine. I think mentioning it was probably one, it always seems to be a funny thing to mention in shows that, oh, you failed your license. Plus, I think they wanted it to prove, to make it seem that they were breaking the law more so. Like, the other things they did whilst driving would have got them arrested. But I think that they required that to really seal the deal that he's driving illegally. They're going to get arrested for this.
What's your favourite scenes or any plot holes that you have with the movie?
Oh, I've already mentioned what plot holes I think there is. Favourite scene? I kind of like the fact that they get the ghost of the grandfather to help her build.
Yeah, that was cool.
That he's like, use this tool. And she's like, where's the needle nose pliers? And he points the light at it or opens the drawer. Like that. I think that's really cool. And it helps link it all together. And that's, his way of connecting with her and helping her move forward. I thought she was a really strong actress that played it. Yeah, I think she did a really good role. So, that's probably my favourite scene. Yourself, you got a standout?
Probably the beginning scene, and maybe when they show the original cast member that passed away, when we get to see him as a ghost, and so kind of the goodbyes from all the original cast members and his family. It was kind of an emotional moment.
Yeah, totally.
And also, there's 2 ending credit scenes that you didn't see, but I saw. And the first one was basically Bill Murray doing this card game. So that was interesting. Basically got to see if he guessed right or not. And then it turned out that he put on markers of what card it was. Don't know if that was true. And then the second one was the black African American team member saying he wants to build the GhostBusters again. So I guess that's hinting that he's going to be the boss, taking the calls and hiring new Ghostbusters. Who knows? Possibly.
I think that's probably what they're doing. They're giving it an option for sequel baiting.
What would you like them to do with the next movie, Luke? Would you like them to make it more scary or more kid-friendly for the next one, or would you like them not to do it?
It doesn't have to be scary. I do just like to see, more everyday ghosts. It's kind of if there's such a thing, but not big demonic creatures that are going to take over the world. But I guess that's the point. If you don't have one big boss, then what do you do? I'd probably rather see them deal with, maybe people that have been taken over by spirits, or people that are being haunted by spirits that are doing really funny things, and their interactions with those.
So True Seekers, if True Seekers was good?
Yeah, pretty much. Something like that. They don't need something massive.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you enjoyed our review. See you in the next video. Stay safe. Let the Force be with you. Bye-bye.